Alright, so another week of trying to watch Impact Wrestling. There were way too many segments last week. Hopefully that was just a one-off thing, and this week we're actually gonna have a show with like 5 wrestling matches and minimal segments. I'm not saying don't have any segments whatsoever, but just keep it down some. So, that being said, let's get into the show. Hey, what is up, you guys? It is Tyler. Welcome back to the Tyler Williams channel, and welcome to another Impact Wrestling review. I don't know why I did that sigh at the very beginning. Actually, I know why, because I ain't gonna lie. I feel like the last 3 times I've tried to watch Impact Wrestling, like the TV show, they've just not been any good, at least in my opinion. So I feel like I'm starting to dread watching Impact Wrestling now. And you guys already know me. I'm not the type of person that'll watch something I don't like. If I don't like it, I'm not going to watch it. So I'm at the point right now where this is like try number 3 for me. If I don't like this show, I don't know if I'm going to watch it again for a very long time. Because y'all already know I tried watching Impact Wrestling again back in 2018. That didn't work. Then I tried watching that Impact Wrestling last month. And it was like okay, but it wasn't like a necessarily bad show. Last week we had another okay show, but it was just filled with segment after segment after segment, and it just kind of got to a point where it's like, damn, where are all the matches at? Like, I'm getting annoyed. Now this is try number 3. So I'd like to think that Impact Wrestling is going to get it right this week. We have an Impact World Championship match and a women's match between Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly that I'm looking forward to. So with that being said, let's get straight into this Impact Wrestling review for July 28th, 2020. So as I just talked about, we open up with the actual Impact Wrestling World Championship match, Eddie Edwards versus Trey, which was set up last week. I was looking forward to this match because I was pretty impressed by Trey and his performance in the match at Slammiversary. And just the Rascals in general, I feel like are really good wrestlers and really entertaining in everything they do in Impact Wrestling. So I was looking forward to this. And he and Eddie Edwards had a pretty good match. I mean, not pretty good. He had a good, like, solid, good match. I hate using the term solid in pro wrestling terms because people always say, oh, that was a solid match. Like, what does solid mean? Like, solid means, like it's a hard object. Like, the terminology of saying solid and solid match, I never got that, so I hate using that term. But if I had to use it, I would use it here. It was a solid match. Like, it wasn't necessarily, definitely wasn't bad, but it wasn't necessarily, you know, like drop everything and must watch, or really even a match you should go back and watch in the future. I would say that in terms of world championship matches I've seen from Impact before, it's probably like one of my like middle of the road, maybe close to the back end of the matches. The ending came when Eddie Edwards ended up getting hit with a high knee from Trey, and then he used that momentum to bounce off the rope and hit his Boston Knee Party, which is basically a last shot that Adam Cole does, and ended up hitting Trey to retain the Impact Wrestling World Championship. I thought it was an interesting choice to have the match, you know, open up the show, because it's like, I'd never been a big fan of having the world title go first. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm one of these people who's like, oh, the world title must go on last. Like, I feel like if the match calls for it and the match is of high stakes, then it can be like maybe co-main event. But like, having your world championship match open up the show always just is always to me. I don't know why. I just never really liked that stigma. After the match, we saw the appearance once again of Eric Young. He came down to the ramp, and he was about to enter in the ring, and then Eddie Edwards like, come on, and then EY just kind of like, and then he didn't, and I was like, okay, I don't understand why this happened, but cool. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not at all excited or looking forward to Eric Young versus Eddie Edwards. That match evokes no emotion out of me whatsoever. Then we got Wrestle House. So we saw a preview of it last week with, you know, Rosemary doing the Wizards of Waverly Place snap, you know, the Thanos snap into existence, everybody be in the house. So we saw finally the first episode of Wrestle House. Now, I honestly thought Wrestle House would be like something that was exclusive to Impact Plus. Something like, I don't know. You guys remember Legends House? It was on the WWE Network about like 5 years ago. Like something like that. Like something you could watch on the side. I didn't expect Wrestle House to actually be part of this show. But it was. We got like a 10-minute long, basically, episode of Wrestle House. You had Rosemary, Ty Valkyrie, Kylie Ray, Cody Dieter, Cousin Jake, AC Baby, Ace Romero, and a few other wrestlers were in there. And I mean, it was basically 10 wrestlers in a house on like a reality TV show like type feel. Tommy Dreamer was also in this. He basically proclaimed himself as the host of the show, where the winner of this Wrestle House Big Brother like show is going to win $1 million. And everyone started freaking out and having a blast. So Rosemary's looking at Tommy Dreamer like, you know that's not why. And Tommy Dreamer's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, I mean, I guess Rosemary would be right because she's the one who brought them there in the first place. So I don't know what Tommy Dreamer's talking about. I wish you had to snapped Tommy Dreamer there to begin with. I don't know. I'm looking too deep into it. I feel like this is stuff that would be appealing to an Impact Wrestling fan. And as you guys know, and as I should stay here, I do not consider myself a fan of this product. I am trying to get into it, but I don't consider myself a fan. I barely know any of these people. I know who the names are. I mean, I've seen Kylie Ray before. I've seen Taya before. I've seen, what's his name? What was dude's name? Ace Romero before. Like, I've seen some of these wrestlers before, but I don't have the attachment to them to really care all that much. So for me, I was like, eh. This went on for 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, I guess if you want to do this to fill up time each week, I guess I don't have a problem with it. Cool, whatever. I guess in a way, I will say this. In a way, it did give me a little bit character depth with each person I saw in this little 10-minute snippet. So I can't be too upset about it because character development. But I digress. We move on from that. We then got a segment with Falaba and TJP. So, what's the dude's name? Brahim? I don't know what his name is. But basically, Middle Eastern dude comes into picture. And he's like, hey, I need to talk to you guys. And then they're like, you got to put your mask on. Like, social distancing. COVID. They're like, put your mask on. So he puts on a mask. And then they're like, I want you to put another mask on. Then he puts on like this really big TJP mask. And then he's like, wait, social distancing. I'm like, let's get to the point. So then the dude's like basically goading, what's his name, TJP into wanting to team up with Chris Bay. Because as we saw last week, Brahit, whatever his name is, he wants to really badly team up with Chris Bay. Why? I guess because Chris Bay is awesome, which I don't blame him because Chris Bay is awesome. So he wants to team up with Chris Bay. So he gets TJP to kind of be like, ooh, maybe I want to, go after the X-Division Championship. He manipulated him into thinking that way. But after that, he runs after Chris Bay, and he's like, you guess what? Guess what I heard? I heard that TJP wants your championship. And Chris Bay's like, maybe I do need somebody to have my back. And a little fist bump. And I'm like, okay. This is a nice development for whatever dude's name is and Chris Bay. I don't really see like the connection, but it gets me just slightly more intrigued in whatever this guy's character's name is, because I keep messing it up. I'm about to go on ImpactWrestling.com and look it up. Because I shouldn't keep botching his name like that, right? We got an Ace Austin and Madman Fulton promo. And I'm like, okay. Should I do a count of how many promos we have back to back? Because this is where it started. First, it was Wrestle House. Then it was the Falaba and TJP segment. Then we got this segment. Then we got Ethan Page and Josh Alexander. They had a promo right after this. And I'm like, so then we get into a flashback, because Impact's been doing this every single week since COVID started. They might be doing this before COVID started. I don't know. But they do this thing where they show you a flashback from like a previous Impact episode. This week, they showed us Motor City Machine Guns versus Beer Money from Victory Road 2010, which I was actually excited to see. Now, I was happy, but for the wrong reasons, because I was happy to see an old TNA match. Because if you ask me, Tyler, what are your two favorite tag teams in TNA? Like overall, I would told you it's MCMG and Beer Money. And like this brought me back to a time when I actually watched Impact Wrestling and enjoyed the product. So I was actually happy to see this match because I never got to see it because it was Victory Road, and Victory Road's a pay-per-view, such and such. But it really goes to show you how heavy, how ridiculously heavy Impact Wrestling relies on its fans to understand that a lot of these favorites in Impact Wrestling, they were either in WWE afterwards, or they were in WWE beforehand. Like I feel like every single week we see a flashback, it always involves a WWE guy, and I'm like, God damn, have you guys not established any stars of your own? And yes, obviously Bobby Roode was established before he went to WWE. So was James Storm and any other name you probably see on his flashback. But I feel like they do this every single week, and it's like, damn, can I see like an MCMG versus, I don't know, somebody who wasn't from WWE? It gets on my nerves a little bit. But this is something Impact Wrestling has done for like decades, so I'm not surprised by it, you know? Then we got a Rob Van Dam and Katie Forbes segment. And I'm like, this is number 6. Then we got a Moose promo. A backstage promo with Moose. And it was cut off by Heath Slater, who basically accepted Moose's open challenge. Well, Moose doesn't have open challenge. Basically, his gimmick with the TNA World Championship is that he basically will challenge people for the title, and he'll beat them. And Heath Slater basically accepts the challenge, and Moose is like, I didn't challenge you, and you don't work here, da-da-da-da. And he's like, well, that's pretty interesting, because I'm actually contracted by TNA. And then Moose is like, you can't be contracted by TNA, TNA doesn't exist, and da-da-da-da. I mean, he's like, wait a minute. And he's like, gotcha, bitch ass, gotcha, with your fake championship. And basically, he manipulated Moose into giving him a championship shot because Heath Slater's awesome. He worked himself into a championship match. Like, I ain't gonna lie, this was probably the one segment on the show that I actually liked because I thought it was funny. And then, dude with the glasses, I guess Scott D'Amore, whatever his name is, he came into frame, and he told Heath next week if he beats Moose, then he'll have a place on the Impact roster. So now I want to see Heath Slater beat Moose, which isn't going to happen, but I'm actually a little bit looking forward to that match. Might be a squash match after all, but who knows. After 40 minutes of segments, promos, and Wrestle House, we then finally get into another match. Deonna Purrazzo versus Kimber Lee. Yeah, it was a pretty decent match. Wouldn't say good, but I think it could have been good if it went longer. But Deonna Purrazzo has been killing it ever since she came to Impact Wrestling, man. Like, I really, truly wouldn't say I ever slept on her when she was in NXT, but I didn't see enough of her to really, bask it all in. So actually getting to see her, do her stuff and do all the mat work and technical basis and, working over the arms, it's good stuff. And I don't think this match was anywhere close to being as good as Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace was. But it was a nice showcase for Deonna. She won the match with her Fujiwara armbar. After the match, Jordynne Grace came out and she had her arm in a sling, and I'm like, damn, she messed your shit up. But she came out in a sling, she got into the ring, then she took off the sling, started beating down Deonna. So the feud's not over yet. I'm looking forward to match number 2 because match number 1 is really good. So I'm here for it. Let's go. So, hot off of coming off of a Katie Forbes and RVD segment before this match, what do we get? But another Katie Forbes and RVD segment. This wasn't another one. Technically, it was Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan. Ken Shamrock's like, I don't want to talk about my feelings, and walked off. And then Katie Forbes came to frame or something. I don't know. I was just like, this is like the 7th segment now. I don't know how much more I can take. Then, what do we get next? We get Wrestle House. I'm like, we just got Wrestle House. 10 minutes of Wrestle House. We need another 10 minutes of this show? Like, I'm fine with y'all doing this once a week if you do it once, but twice, unnecessary. So now we get another 10 minutes of filler with Wrestle House. And this time, I barely was paying attention because I was getting fed up with the fact that we have all these segments and no matches once again. Then we finally get the well-awaited and well-teased Katie Forbes segment. Yeah, last week she said that she was going to be basically showing herself on live television for $3.99 or $3.99. I don't know. It might be $3.90. I mean, she didn't charge us, so I guess $3.99 is how much she's going to be showing herself on live TV for, which is basically her photo shoot. So RVD comes out, not to the old RVD TNA theme song, which pissed me off so much. But Katie Forbes comes out, and she's like, I'm going to do a countdown. 1, hey, Turtle. I'm like, at this point, my hand's on the remote. Like, I'm physically ready to turn the show off. Then the pictures come up, and it's Sami Callihan over top of her face with, like, basically him talking over it. And Katie Forbes is freaking out. She's losing her mind. I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, guys. I turned the show off. I couldn't take it. I could not take it. I watch pro wrestling for the pro wrestling. Do I enjoy storylines? Absolutely. Do I enjoy character development? Absolutely. But when I watch pro wrestling, I expect to see pro wrestling. Did we get it on this show? Absolutely. But the fact that I got to sit through close to 50 minutes of segments and maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops of matches, that's insane. That's insane. It took me back to days when I used to watch Monday Night Raw. And it would be like 1 hour of segments and 2 hours of wrestling. Like, I watch AEW every single week, and AEW does segments. But get this, AEW keeps it to a very small amount, maybe 3 or 4 segments a show, and they do not run over long time. And they execute them very well. I'm not saying Impact doesn't execute them very well, because they probably do, but I'm not just a big enough fan to care. But, oh my God, it is getting really hard to sit through nothing but just promo, segment, EC3 teaser, Brian Myers teaser. I couldn't do it. I gave up. I said, nope, I'm not finishing the rest of the show. So whatever happened, it happened. I don't really care. I turned the show off. So that was your Impact Wrestling review. Thank y'all for watching. I'm sorry if you want to hear the results for Impact Wrestling, but this is not it. You might have to go somewhere else to hear the rest of the show, because I ain't giving it my time. As far as me checking out Impact Wrestling again, I don't know. Y'all have to give this video like at least 40 likes for me to check out next week, because I'm not in a hurry at all. Not in a hurry. That being, and please don't take this as me asking you like the video. I'm not asking you. I'm just saying, if you want to see me give it one more try next week, 40 likes on this video. And yeah, we're going to end it right here. Thank y'all for watching. Love you guys as always, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace out, guys.